So, warm welcome to the panel, and also thank you very much, distinguished audience. As already mentioned, we have heard about what breeding has achieved over the many years, where breeding is today in the predictive mode, AI making a lot of things possible, even thinking as far as co-development of plants, which is a real interesting challenge, and I would like to elaborate on this one when we come to this to the discussion. I think now what I would like to do is to give each of you the opportunity to introduce yourself. I think Urs, you have had the opportunity already, and Finn, but also Urs Fischer, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Alexander. I'm Urs Fischer, Managing Director of MPZ Innovation. MPZ Innovation is a CRO. We are doing our work providing solutions for the breeding industry. 80% of our work goes into canola, I would say, Brassica napus. We also work on leguminosis, and we do everything from trait discovery to predictive algorithms, which we develop for our customers. Perfect.
And Martin, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, my name is Karl Vollenweider. So I'm an organic plant breeder. No worries. I'm an organic plant breeder, actually very close to here, to Frankfurt, only 20 minutes. And we breed plants mainly in wheat, barley, oats, rye, maize, also vegetable crops. And I have 10 employees, and we breed new plants, new varieties for the organic market.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, we do have a broad variety here. So we have basically agricultural systems which come from the low input side and are organic. We have predictive breeding from the AI side. We have the traditional breeding, or the breeding practice as it's done today. And also we have the organic and biodynamic breeding practices with Karl. So I think this is a quite broad panel. I think it should enable an interesting discussion. So I would like to shoot the first question with Nigli, if you allow. And I think the question now is, you have worked a long time with agroecological features and how basically you can work with lower inputs out there. Would you say that the focus of the future is more on the lower input side, on system innovations, or is it on high-tech genetics and crops?
Yeah, basically we need to develop a lot of techniques, but also a lot of varieties which are adapted to low input systems and which are nonetheless productive. So, because we have seen high input systems and we know what the consequences are if we have too much nitrogen in our environment, too much phosphorus, and if we use too much pesticides. So everything goes into the direction of low or lower input systems.
Yep. Thanks a lot. So basically you have to meet both, and low input in times of high commodity prices are definitely of interest to everyone as well. Maybe asking Finn, so I mean, you are at the forefront of the technology development here. So where do you see it already being implemented in the field, and where it basically takes traction, and where is it still, so to say, a PowerPoint, a vision of where breeding will become one day?
Yeah, I think from maybe beyond what Nomis is doing, AI is being implemented in a bunch of different ways, right? You have phenotyping drones that are already flying today or since several years, analyzing images. You have ChatGPT, no joke, helping people to structure their decisions and so on, providing productivity gains. Decision support systems like ours are also basically an iteration of statistical methods that are also being used for the better part of a decade. But yeah, now we're reaching really some kind of inflection point where you can extrapolate to more regions and to more climate zones. So I think varieties that have been really bred with AI supporting tools have not yet hit the market, but they are, right now in R&D, and you can maybe see their benefits in the current pipeline, basically, of breeding programs.
Okay, yeah. So Urs, as I mentioned, Director of MPZ Innovation, where do you see the AI already being in your daily business, in the breeding processes? Where is it still a vision and what is going to be there tomorrow in your daily work, right?
Yeah. So I will contradict you a little bit. So our products which we release into the market, they are all based on AI. Yeah?
Well, even better.
partly. Yeah. And that's the point now. So I think where we need to work on is not on the algorithms at the moment and the technology. It's there. It's on the acceptance which we need to work within our organizations. Yeah? Okay. That's the difficult thing. So you showed before you have 50% of your plants you predicted, yeah? We in practice only do like 30% because of acceptance. The breeder is scared that the prediction could outcompete the breeder himself. So.
Okay, yeah. Very interesting. And now basically looking into the background of Karl in the biodynamics sphere, so that is organic breeding and organic farming basically in the purest sense. So my question would be, what technologies are basically also being applied in your area? Where do you see the connection to what everyone is talking about now at the forefront of technology? Where do you see you basically churning in, and where basically you say we have to stay out?
Yes, thank you for that question. Sometimes the world is not as black and white as people believe. So for instance, genetic engineering or even genetic editing, that's one side of the spectrum. And there is, well, more traditional methods, selective breeding, crossbreeding, which we do. But of course, these novel techniques produce a lot of intermediary techniques, I would call them. For instance, markers, molecular markers, diagnostic markers, that is, which help you to look at the plants, but at a genetic level. And these even we use to some extent. Mm-hmm. What is very important is interactions between plants and the environment we have seen, but between plants and pests, for instance, because pests can co-evolve and change over time, and we have to understand these interactions better. And there, for sure, technology can help to understand better for us too. Another point I would like to raise, if you don't do some things like genomic engineering, you do other things in life. It's not true if you say no to something that you do nothing. I mean, I really hope we don't do nothing at Ottenfelderhof. For instance, we breed plants, and we breed them differently. For instance, we are very interested in what we call population breeding, that we go away from this concept of a variety which has to be uniform. Each plant in each field has to be the same. That is true for now. That has many reasons, and it will stay like this for a long time. But in niches, in organic farming, you can go away from this concept to have really intra-specific, so within a variety, you have diversity, which helps you against pests, increases resilience in times of climate change. And we can explore with these new type of varieties. That's an advantage we have. We can do other things as well.
Very interesting. And since we are also talking from investor mindset a little bit, Urs, Nikli, I would like to ask you also, so if you think about low input systems and the kind of advancements and practices that you have come up with in the organic farming part, what actually is scalable? What can you roll out in the world in order to feed these many people? Because you still have these limitations of land, limitation of resources. So actually, can we feed this growing population with low input systems?
Yeah, I think the ideal system I have in mind is low input but not low output. So low input and high output. This is the most efficient system. And that's what we have to achieve. And in addition to that, I haven't talked about that, we also need to critically look into into the way we eat, because we eat too much animal protein. We have still, although it's known by everybody, we have huge masses of food waste. So these are two very important wheels where we can change the system. And but I know that's easy said and hardly done. But in the medium term, we have to talk about that. Our consumption patterns, that has to be changed. And but nonetheless, I see that we have, and Karl has said that we have so many different approaches where we can improve the output of our systems without having this massive input that we have now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Finn, so someone evaluating an investment in Nomaze in your seed round, right, which is definitely of interest, but what would you say, what is the biggest constraint to you at the moment? Is it the data availability and the modeling capability, or is it actually the biology, the regulation environment, and other constraints around, right? So basically, what would hold up, so to say, the success, not just so to say of your company, but of the products, right, that then reflects to the company, other than your own kind of controllable environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Urs has put it very well. There's also beyond the capability of the model, which certainly can be improved, but I think it's already on a very good state, this question of deployment and distribution, basically, right? How do you get from simulating something to then integrating that into a business critical decision, right? And actually showing up on the bottom line, if you want, right? So generating trust in these kind of systems just takes time and education, basically, and also infrastructure, right? We're not in here, manufacturing space where you have IoT devices since 10 years. There needs to be certain systems in place for data to flow from A to B. And then the decisions based on that also to flow back to C and actually make it to breeding programs, the output at the end of the day then, right? But yeah. I mean, maybe one point from a biological side, as a machine learning or engineer, basically, something that is, you cannot help but notice is that the reinforcement learning speed is not the same as in maybe other fields. You have to make a prediction, grow the plant in the field, wait 6 months until you see the result that you can feed back. I mean, this can be, of course, faced, but that is for sure a hard biological bottleneck that is hard to evade. Yeah.
Thank you. And now with maybe in this relationship also, and with Nigli actually already mentioned that, right? So you want to achieve a lot of things with breeding, right? There are different features. You want to go for the resilience, you're going to go for yield, and many more things. So with these new technologies at hand, is it going to become more complex? Is breeding going to become more complex? Or is it going to be simplified and speeded up?
No, it's certainly becoming more simple and faster, and that's the main advantage, that we can make selections earlier, we can be faster in our processes because we do a sound selection earlier in our breeding processes, we can use more markers, all these traits we have in modern varieties now we need to deploy through the parents into a new variety, and this is then a numbers game. That's the reason why these costs are so much. You need to have the right combinations afterwards for these traits again. So we can basically, could many of these traits engineer. Yeah? So we just breed for yield, for example, and in the very late stage of our product development, we engineer these traits into the varieties we want to put into the market. That's a huge opportunity we have in future.
And maybe just to relate to that, the opportunity then comes in the shorter time frame that it takes basically to develop, or will it also be a better trait?
Yeah, on the better traits we still need to work. So we have many of these traits we could possibly engineer, we already have in the pocket, but we don't really know the genes which underlie these traits. So that still requires some research, and it certainly will increase now the appetite with NGT that you look for new traits which you thought before they couldn't be bred because you need too many family members of a gene family, for example, to be knocked out. Yeah.
Okay. So, and now relating also to the organic farming once more. So, so if you look for the new traits that basically you're trying to achieve, so where do you see the greatest value in the organic farming? Is it the resistance traits? Is it tolerance to drought and environmental conditions? Is it yield at the end? So what would you like to focus on in your area with your methodologies at hand? Is that deviating from the high-tech plans, or are you going in the same direction?
Well, the basic direction was always similar. So we always aim for yield, I mean, for sure. In organic or in conventional farming, yield is the bottom line to a large extent. When it comes to diseases, it is just many diseases are very similar, like fungal diseases, like leaf diseases. Some are specific. For instance, all diseases which are transmitted by seed, that is our specialty at Dottenfelder Hof. We are really looking into these diseases which are transmitted by seed, because usually you take chemical compounds to treat seeds. We don't have good substitutes. Still, after 40 years of research in organic, we have to do something different. We have to breed there for these diseases specifically. But still, I would say a very important trend, it was mentioned before, is climate resilience. Because I see it in practice, each year is very extreme. And for some farmers, it's just, can I survive? I mean, can I get this year? I mean, can I? And there I really think we should work for answers, because these are complex traits. Like diseases, we breeders call them simple traits. Most diseases are quite simple traits, like few genes. That's probably not true for climate resiliency, I would say, as a breeder. Because, you know, drought, we say drought tolerance, but what is even drought? When does it occur during the year? You know, does it occur early in the year, in winter times, in summer? Is it extensive? Is it combined with heat or not? I mean, climate change is hugely complex, and it's hugely different each year. And I think we need solutions. And while new technologies may be part of the solutions, I'm a little bit skeptical whether it's the only solution. We have to think at the systems level, what we heard before, like landscape, like new types of varieties, like intercropping, like agroforestry. I think we really need answers for climate change resiliency.
Really interesting. So putting on the investor hat with Nigli, so where would you put your money today? Would you invest in new technologies, new varieties, and high-tech genetics, or would you go into cropping systems, into low input technologies that are churning through, into soil health? Where would you put your money today?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to put your money into soil health. And if I would put my money into biodynamic breeding, because there is the biggest gap, and I don't need to help the investors and the companies to apply the modern technologies, because they do it anyway. And I'm still. I think it's important that we really look into and practice and develop different avenues of solutions. For me, this is this diversity which is extremely important. And we don't want to depend on one way, and we don't want to depend on one technology. And in my life, I have I have developed a very open attitude towards modern technologies. And because I don't want to discuss such opportunities in an ideological or emotional way. For me, that's not about policy, and also not about marketing, market thinking, and so on. We need to look also at modern technologies in a very open way, because why not use the best breeding techniques if we have to solve a problem? So using all techniques, but not span any kind of modern technologies.
Okay. Well said. Then maybe Finn, question to you, also the investor head on. So where is the value creation in the future? Is it with platforms like yours that enable? Or is it with the ones that underlying the breeding companies, the traditional ones that actually own the genetic IP? So who captures the value, and where would you put your money?
I may be biased, but I certainly think the mode of proprietary germplasm doesn't go away, right? I think breeding companies are in a good position to defend their mode there. But I do think that there's going to be a shift or additional value to be created with this shift towards more digital value creation in silico breeding, which is what we're trying to propose. So we're certainly interested in capturing part of the value there. When we talk about new genomic techniques and traits that are being developed or co-developed, I think this is also an additional opportunity, basically, that is, I don't want to say up for grabs, but I mean, it's not yet decided that only the existing breeding companies will be the ones generating the value there, doing the research and then commercializing on those traits. So not to say that we will capture 100% of the market there, but I think there's an opportunity that is opening up from new technologies becoming available, and that's for sure exciting.
And capturing part of the value that's been created. Yeah, very nice. So if you think about now the value created in the traditional breeding, and using also these technologies, could you imagine that MPZ basically then starts to co-develop plants with nomads, and suddenly, so to say, you have a variety that basically comes out of your genetic IP, and someone is going to take a share of that?
We talk, we don't have a business relationship, but we talk. No, that's possible. So I think it's maybe, especially in the NGT landscape now, it's you have a lot of enabling technology, which is all patented at the moment, and that could be an advantage of companies developing NGT traits, taking a research license and trying to partner with us, and we commercialize them products. And this can also be true for your algorithms and programs you develop, of course. So we are always open to cooperate, and I think as a small company, not so very small, but still a relatively small company, we also, it's a path forward for us to cooperate with others.
That's a strong statement for a breeding company.
And we are, come to us, talk to us. We are very open to cooperation. I think we are the only company in the world which provides startups, university, academic partners with competitive germplasm. We give you the mothers, the fathers, you can do with them what you want.
Well noted. Yes. Karl, if I may also come to your breeding activity. So I think we have heard that there is going to be innovation coming out of biodynamic or organic breeding in different shapes or forms. So if you think about how it has been funded in the past, right? And please correct me, but I think there was a lot of funding coming from public sources and going into these activities. So if you wanted to increase so to say, your economic raison d'être, right? So becoming the basically part of the game where breeding, so to say, benefits from your innovations as well. Where would you say are the first kind of inlets? Where would you say, okay, here basically KWS should talk to you because you have something that they actually should need?
Yes, so the money came mainly from private sources actually, very little from public, though this was for, this depends on the politicians in charge, you know. This goes up and down and up and down. But of course, we protect our varieties actually. So when we breed new varieties, we protect them by usual plant protection, and we get now a return on investment. You know, the problem was when we started 40 years ago, organic farming was very small.
Yep.
And then people thought, are you crazy to develop plants only for organic? I mean, it's so small, the market, it was never economically viable. Now the market has grown, and the varieties, our varieties are really asked for, and we get a higher return on investment on the plant variety protection. So coming to, well, and I hope this will change, you know, that we can just, the organic market grows, now it's stagnating, that's unfortunate, but it will grow, I'm pretty sure, because it is a low input system, it's mainly the lower input system, but it will grow, I'm pretty confident, and with that, the breeding that we need adapted varieties. I think this is now quite clear that in organic we need different varieties than in organic, than in conventional. They can come from, your varieties are very good, you know, for organic, so there is a lot of competition for sure, but that's what we want. We want, I mean, what Urs Nigli said is this competition of approaches is very important, you know. We want the best varieties for the farming system, wherever they come from. Genetic engineering is for us a red line. We don't want to use it in organic farming, but apart from this. Where I see a few uncertainties actually to come to this note is with patents, because I don't think we know what will happen in that regard, because I don't see it quite yet how these are compatible. So the usual plant variety protection system, so any breeder can use any variety. We can just exchange varieties. KWS uses, I know, our varieties for crossing, and vice versa, you know. A huge company, and we just exchange germplasm. I think what will change with genetic engineering, and that's my main worry about genetic engineering, if there are more patents, will this still be the case or not? Because that was a huge driver of innovation in Europe. The system was quite intelligent, that breeders can exchange and the best variety wins on the market. And will we go away from this system? There I see some, I'm not sure.
Yeah, perfect. You prepared the floor for my next question. I really would like to give it also, you know, free to the audience to choose, but you know, you talk about the plant breeder's privilege or rights that you can basically use other varieties and put them into your system and then compensate for that in the hindsight. But if you think about now the patents coming up in the genome editing, so how is that going to change the capability of you and of others to develop further? And at the same time, and I would like to bring both questions at the same point, what does it mean for the investability for that space? Because suddenly investors have a moat, right? There's a barrier that you can invest in, and you know this value you can capture, right? So it brings advantages from the financial side, and it brings possibly disadvantages from the other side. But you know, please pick that question as you like and answer. I don't want to call you. I think this is a real key question now for the investor side, but also then for the industry per se.
Yeah, basically, I think that, I heard that already, that the Commission will come up with a new proposal how to regulate the patents, because it has to, the way genetic engineering is regulated, that's not a way forward for genome editing, and it's also not good for the diversity of breeders, and so we need a change there and a modified patent law. But basically, it's of course also biodynamic breeders want to earn money. So there are different ways how money can be earned, and unfortunately, the US breeders have brought patenting to Europe, and now we need to modify that.
Yeah, I personally think that the patents are the end of the plant breeder rights, as you said. That's a situation which you can be happy about it or not, yeah, from an investor point of view, who was not investing into seed industry before. I think that's good news, yeah, there is more value to capture in future. For a breeder like us, it will put additional hurdles, yeah, but that's something we cannot change, yeah? So we adapt to this situation and do the best out of it. We are active in Canada, their patents basically close the box. All the breeders have their germplasm which they protect, and there is no exchange of germplasm. That's maybe in the end of the day not very good for the farmer, yeah, because the genetic gain is no longer so big, and this you can see. But on the other hand, you can now capture value on patents, on trades. Yeah? So that's where we need to go. Develop trades, yeah, and try to license this out to the big seed. Yeah.
Finn, how would you like to capture your co-developed plans? How do you want to capture the value that you create there? Do you want to capture it through plant breeders' rights and compensation, or through IP that you can actually wheel and deal with, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to give you a definitive answer, but I also can't see the future. So I guess we have to see how it pans out also politically, right? I think in terms of trade development, there's certainly a question about contribution of parties. You know, if we work together, we find an interesting gene in your germplasm. Is that now your discovery or our discovery, right? For example, these kind of things need to be discussed beforehand and also evaluated from a commercial side. So there's certainly discussions that need to happen. Something that we find also interesting is not just looking at genomic engineering in terms of co-creation, but also in terms of matching. For example, there is this germplasm exchange happening also with gene banks and you know, other third parties that are a source of genetic diversity. And we think that our technologies, as much as maybe similar technologies, can also help in identifying the right matches there, which can lead to co-creation of new plants in which we participate, right? So I think there's room for creativity, but yeah, certainly discussions still need to happen to really create a deal.
So now coming from the abstract macro level, maybe more concrete, so where do you now see the first value being created? In which plants? Which ones do you see that they actually get commercial traction? What is basically becoming, so to say, as a role model of how varieties designed with genome engineering, genome editing to become, so to say, available now? Is there, so to say, a route that you would say it has proven to be the first way to market? You know, in Japan, they have genome-edited tomatoes. In the US, they have genome-edited salads in the meantime, right? The berries are going to start up. You have a startup ecosystem that is emerging with different kind of target crops. So which target crops do you see at the moment to be very promising, and which ones are coming next? And is there maybe an iteration of events possibly there? Someone who wants to pick it up and.
Yeah, I think one thing which will happen is the quality products. That's easy. Quality by these traits are often known. You can knock out genes and change quality. Yeah? And I think it will lean towards species crops which have a long generation time, which were not really accessible through breeding. Yeah? and you couldn't mutagenize easily and develop a variety from it. So it will be a game which will be like fruits is interesting. I think that will be the first bigger products. I would predict forestry will probably also be very early into it. Yeah? For this very short rotation, with very short generations, it's not so much need for what we know at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second thing which will come, and that will come in the big crops with the short generation times, it's actually the methodology you need to breed. Yeah. And the customer will not see this, yeah, but that will cut costs in the breeding companies. How you make hybrids, how you increase the recombination rate between certain parts in the genome and so on. That will be the things which are pushed forward now massively. Yeah.
Slashing field trials.
No one will realize it. You won't have it in your product, but it makes things cheaper. Yeah.
That's what you see. Yeah. Looking at the different, or someone else wants to make a remark to this question. Okay.
I have maybe one short comment, something that we see basically in parallel to qualitative and maybe also quantitative traits that can be interesting is to also just create new genetic diversity based on these techniques, right? So splitting up regions that are only always inherited together and are really hard to breed into. You can break those up by manually introducing mutations there without necessarily already knowing that this is going to lead to a trait, right? So just to accelerate classical breeding with new genomic technologies. I think that's going to also be interesting, although it's harder to quantify.
Yeah. So thinking about comparing the US with the European ecosystem, and now Europe becoming more liberated and things becoming possible. So what happened in the US, you had players like Benson Hill, you have Pairwise and the likes that basically then also claim, okay, we're going to develop our own crops and basically go out there. So basically they create a new breeding company, right? So, and thinking about the ecosystem of the breeding companies today, that basically is dominated by a few, and then you have the smaller players and so on. What is it going to this ecosystem, these new technologies? How is the dynamic in here going to change with AI, data modeling, genome editing being at hand, all the other drivers that you have today, even advanced phenotyping measures, right, for example? Someone?
I can speak again. No, I think what can happen now, and what was kind of impossible for decades now, is that you have rapid domestication of new crops. So you bring new crops competitively into the market because you know you need to change maybe 2 or 3 genes affecting the architecture, the bitterness of your fruits, and you already know them, you can change them and create a new market. Yeah? And that was impossible before. Yeah? And then with all these methods which accelerate breeding, basically you cut costs, and all of a sudden you have a business case which before you would say, I live with this bad quality or with handcrafted fruits or whatever. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Nigli? How is the market, how is this ecosystem going to change with these technologies churning in? Will it change at all?
Yeah, I think that the way we farm, the way we produce will change a lot in the next 10, 20 years. And that's not only on the level of breeding. You mentioned artificial intelligence and so on. So and also on with precision farming, we can farm completely differently, and so we can go back to diversified lands. That's for me the most interesting thing, to go back to diversified landscapes, because this monotone situation are terrible for us human beings. And so meaning that a lot will change. And I also mentioned this kind of new biocontrol agents. For instance, in the United States, against Colorado beetle, potato beetle, there is already one extremely interesting product on the market, which is extremely effective and very targeted, and such compounds will come on the market.
Yeah. So mRNA coming also to agriculture, absolutely. That's maybe to you, Karl. So if there's someone saying, I want to invest in biodynamic and organic farming, so where do you see opportunities of value growth? Someone maybe bringing a value of bringing in money into this ecosystem and saying, okay, there's something to capture. Yeah, and is there an opportunity? Would you say that this ecosystem is open to investors at all? And how would you basically advise such a person?
Well, I think the system is a little bit more hostile to monopolization in general, because so much value is put to diversity, and at least part of the organic sector really means it, diversity, you know, because the system is more heterogeneous. I mean, that is almost certainly true, because you have different farms. It depends a lot on the soil where you are, a lot on the climate. You don't have so much input. So where you can invest is in farming itself, I would say, because farming itself now is a losing proposition sometimes, but this might change, you know, because, I mean, we see really the world changing faster than we thought. For instance, I mean, fertilizer prices are through the roof. We don't know yet, I believe, how this affects in detail the whole system, but I think we can be pretty sure that inputs will become costlier over time, all types of inputs. Water, because of climate change, fossil fuels, because of many reasons we see it now, which is hard to predict. And I think lower input farming systems, which are more resilient, and I think that's key. You know, a diverse system is inefficient in a way. That is a problem. Smaller systems are, in a way, if you have the high inputs available, inefficient. But they are usually more resilient. If you grow like 5, 6 crops on a farm, or 10, and also have animals, I think you shouldn't underestimate with animals also the resiliency they may. They are not efficient, for sure not, and then you shouldn't do too much. But I think, you know, as an investor, do you want to have the highest output in 1 year? Or do you want to have still an output in 10 or 20 years? As an investor, I would worry not so much about the next 2 years and then create a lot of money, but about the longer term as well. So I would invest in farming in general.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think that was a very interesting remark. We do have 2.5 minutes left, and I would like to open that to the audience. If there's a question, yes, there's a microphone coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that discussion. That was really wonderful. I was really enjoying that. I liked Finn's statement that he said, I cannot look into the future, but those guys who are sitting next to you, they earn money by watching and looking to the future and producing exactly that, what we need in the future. So now, from the perspective of a farmer, I would like to know, how do you see the future of the farming in Europe? So what we see is, who's the big landscape owner in Germany? It's the Aldi brothers. Okay, so what I'm really afraid of is, do we have American or South American structures, maybe in 10 years or 20 years? If the structure change of the farming in Europe won't be stopped or changed, I think it will be like this. So like Mr. Karl or Dr. Karl Vollenweider said, we have to invest in things that run in 10 or 20 years. Do we still have the same structure? Can we still earn money like we do now? Or do we have a very, very big problem because massive big investors come to us and they run our business, and if they control the market, then we have to pay much more for our food. And we don't have any, because I think free farmers, free food, free people, that can change quite fast. So how open-minded should we be to use new technologies, even when we are talking about ecological production? Because if we lose too much time, they will come and kick our asses. And I'm very happy to hear Mr. Nikli's answer because I love your style. Thank you.
This is an extremely difficult question to answer. I'd like to hear your recommendation, but of course the problem is that at the moment we see a lot of tendency to protect again in Europe or even national markets. So that free trade has lost a little bit the fascination, and I think that's a very good development. I'm neither a nationalist nor any kind of xenophobe guy, but especially this strongly structured parts of the world, like Europe, where we have so many different landscapes, so many countries, and so many economic situations. We need to have a certain protection of that integrity. And I think, for me, that's a positive development, because we can never compete with Canada nor United States. Never.
All right, thank you, Urs. We close the panel now. I would like to thank my distinguished panelists very much. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and your interest in plant breeding has been amplified, and happy to talk to you also after the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander.